Chosen one. A desperate individual has finally played their last, most reckless card against you. In a frantic attempt to save their own collapsing empire, someone gave false testimony on you. A police investigation questioning your whereabouts is the result of them trying to use your name as a shield. As investigators seize their evidence, this person is spinning a web of lies to deflect the consequences of their own actions. Let us start with the tower, because that is where this really begins. There is someone in your past who built an entire life on unstable ground. Maybe you knew this person intimately, maybe you worked together, maybe you tried to help at some point, tried to show a better way. But this person was not interested in solid foundations. This person wanted shortcuts, quick wins, easy money, the appearance of success without the actual work required to build something real. And for a while it worked. The house stood. People admired it from the outside. This person played the part convincingly, but you saw the cracks. You saw how the walls shifted when pressure came. You saw how this person deflected when questions arose. You saw the pattern of using people, discarding them, moving to the next opportunity without ever looking back at the damage left behind. That is why you walked away. That is why you created distance. Because something in you, some deeper knowing, recognized that staying connected to that energy would eventually pull you under. And now, right on schedule, the tower is falling, fast. Investigators are involved. Authorities are asking questions. Resources are being seized. And suddenly, that person who seemed so confident, so in control, is drowning in the consequences of personal choices. This person is not just drowning. This person is reaching, grabbing, trying to pull anyone and everyone into the water, and your name came up, not because you did anything wrong, but because you were there, you were connected at some point, you knew things, saw things, were part of that world during a time when this house of cards was being built. So now a story is being told, a carefully constructed narrative where somehow, some way, you were involved in whatever is bringing this world down. This person is pointing at the past, at old connections, at moments that meant one thing then, but are being twisted to mean something else now. Your history together is being weaponized. Your compassion is being turned into complicity. Your presence is being reframed as participation. And right now, there are people listening to that story, taking notes, opening files, maybe planning to contact you, to ask questions, to verify claims, to understand your role in whatever mess was created. That is the storm coming toward you. That is the urgency you are feeling. That is why your nervous system has been activated, why you have felt that prickling sense of something approaching. This person does not have evidence. This person has a story. There is a massive difference. Evidence is concrete, documents, communications, financial trails, multiple witnesses saying the same thing independently. Evidence builds a case that holds up under scrutiny. A story is just noise, one desperate person pointing fingers, accusations without substance, hoping that by creating enough confusion, enough smoke, the truth of personal guilt can be obscured. And that difference, that gap between what is claimed and what can be proven, that is your safety net. That is the ground you are standing on while this person sinks in quicksand. Think about it logically. If you were actually involved in criminal activity, if you had actually participated in whatever is being investigated, there would be a trail, digital footprints, money moving, communications that could not be explained away, your presence at specific locations at specific times, but you do not have those trails, because you were not doing those things. You were living your life, walking your path, operating in integrity. So when investigators start digging, when verification begins against actual facts, the story is going to fall apart. The timeline will not match. The logistics will not make sense. The accusations will reveal themselves as exactly what they are: desperate attempts to shift blame, to create reasonable doubt, to drag someone else down in a drowning person's final thrashing movements. But we are still building to the real revelation, because there is something else happening beneath the surface of this drama, something spiritual, something that transforms this from a simple legal issue into a defining moment in your journey. This person who is pointing at you represents a pattern, an energy, a type of connection you have been working to clear from your life. Maybe this was a romantic partner who drained resources while building schemes. Maybe this was a business associate who used your reputation to legitimize shady dealings. Maybe this was someone who always seemed to need saving, always in crisis, always pulling you into chaos. Whatever the specific dynamic was, there was always this element of taking and you giving, creating problems and you trying to solve them, making messes and you trying to clean them up. And at some point, you recognized the pattern. You saw that help was not what was wanted, enabling was, change was not desired. Someone to buffer from the consequences of not changing was desired. So you stepped back. You created boundaries. You said no when you would have said yes before. You stopped jumping in to save every time a new crisis was created. And this person probably did not like that. Probably tried to pull you back in with guilt, with nostalgia, with promises of change that never materialized. But you held firm. You kept your distance. You protected your peace. If this touched your heart and mind, hype this video so more chosen ones can receive this message. And now, here we are, the ultimate test of those boundaries. Because help is not just being asked for anymore. Force is being applied. You are being entangled in consequences, whether you consent or not. Your name is being used without permission, your history without context, your past compassion as a weapon against your present peace. This is the moment where everything you have learnt about boundaries, about discernment, about protecting your energy, gets tested at the highest level, because right now you might be feeling pressure to respond, to defend yourself, to reach out and manage the narrative, to explain to investigators, to mutual connections, exactly how uninvolved you were. You do not need to do anything. Your truth does not require defending. It exists independently of lies. It is not something you have to prove. It is something that simply is. Think about how much power that gives you. While scrambling is happening, stories are being created, desperate reaching is occurring, attempts to control a narrative that is already slipping through fingers. You can just be still. You can just continue living your life. You can watch this storm approach, recognize it for what it is, and know with absolute certainty that it is going to pass right over you without landing. When someone gives a statement to authorities, a record is being created. Words, a version of events, are being put into an official document that can be checked, verified, cross-referenced, and that is exactly where liars trap themselves. See, the truth is consistent. When you tell the truth about where you were, what you did, who you were with, those facts do not change no matter how many times you are asked. The details stay the same because events actually happened. But when someone fabricates a story, when fingers are pointed without foundation, memory of what was said becomes necessary. Track must be kept of lies, and under pressure, under questioning, those fabrications start to shift. This person who is pointing at you right now is probably telling investigators about places you supposedly were, times you supposedly met, conversations you supposedly had, activities you supposedly participated in. And here is what is going to happen when investigators do the job. Those claims are going to be checked. Security footage is going to be reviewed. Phone records are going to be pulled. Locations are going to be verified through digital footprints, through credit card transactions, through witness statements from people who actually were where you actually were. And none of it is going to match the story. Because you were not doing what is being claimed you were doing. You were not where you are being said you were. You were not involved in what you are being implicated in. The evidence, the real evidence, is going to show a completely different picture. It is going to show you living your normal life, following your regular patterns, being exactly who you have always been. That is the power of truth. It does not just exist in words. It exists in data, in records, in the physical reality of how you actually spent your time. And all of that real, verifiable, concrete information is going to contradict every false claim being made. Every single one. Now let me tell you something about how investigators think. Investigators are trained to spot inconsistencies. Investigators are trained to recognize when someone is deflecting blame. The difference between someone who is cooperating because truth is desired and someone who is pointing fingers because desperation has taken over becomes clear to trained eyes. And the more this person talks, the more obvious the desperation becomes. Think about what happens when follow-up questions are asked. When investigators say, "You mentioned this person was with you. What were you wearing? What time exactly did you meet? What did you talk about? Who else saw you together?" The details matter. And when someone is lying, that person cannot provide consistent, specific details. Stumbling happens. Self-contradiction occurs. "I do not remember" gets said too many times. Defensiveness emerges when investigators press for clarity. But when investigators talk to you, if that conversation happens, you are going to be able to answer clearly, not because you prepared a story, but because you are simply recounting what actually happened in your life. You will be able to say, "I was not there, I was actually at this other place. Here is who I was with, here is what we were doing," and all of that will check out, because it is real. Now let me put you onto something real. Destiny Engine. I built this because I was done watching chosen ones get dragged through betrayal, isolation and attacks, while their enemies strutted around unchecked. I want to help you accelerate the speed of your divine justice and step fully into your purpose. And the beauty of it, you don't even have to lift a finger. Destiny Engine takes their downfall and flips it into your rise. This isn't another meditation app. It's declassified consciousness technology, the same mind programming tools your enemies once used to install fear, competition and scarcity, re-engineered to restore your sovereignty and align you with the cooperative, upgraded operating framework, which generates personalized sequences mapped to your divine purpose. The hardest thing you'll do is put on headphones, press play, and watch your enemies keep digging their own grave. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and turn everything they did to break you into fuel for your rise. Link in the description. This person might try to manipulate you directly. This person might reach out through channels you did not even know were still accessible. Maybe through a mutual acquaintance, maybe through social media, maybe through a new phone number you do not recognize. And when that contact happens, this person is going to try to play on your emotions. This person might start with nostalgia. Remember when we were close? Remember when things were good between us? Remember how much we meant to each other? The goal is softening you, making you forget why distance was created in the first place, making you feel guilty for protecting yourself. Then this person might shift to desperation. "I need your help. I do not have anyone else. You are the only one who understands. You are the only one who can verify what really happened." This person is trying to activate that part of you that used to jump in and rescue, that part that used to feel responsible for someone else's well-being, or the approach might go straight to intimidation. "If you do not help me, things are going to get worse for both of us. If you do not back up my story, we are both going down. Certain things better not be discovered." This person is trying to scare you into compliance, trying to make you think that protecting yourself means protecting this person too. None of it is true. None of it has power over you unless you give it power, because you know something this person desperately hopes you do not know. You know that the story only works if you participate in it, and you are not going to participate. You are not going to engage. You are not going to let emotional manipulation override your commitment to truth. Let me address something that might be weighing on you. The question of whether you should have seen this coming, whether ties should have been cut sooner, whether more care should have been taken about who you associated with. And I want you to hear this clearly. You did nothing wrong by being connected to someone who later made terrible choices. You are not psychic. Every possible future outcome of every connection cannot be predicted. What you can do, what you did do, is pay attention to patterns. You noticed when things did not feel right. You recognized when boundaries were being violated. You felt when the energy became toxic, and you acted on that knowing. You created distance. You protected yourself. That is exactly what you were supposed to do. The fact that choices eventually led to legal consequences does not retroactively make you guilty of poor judgment for knowing this person. It validates that your instinct to step away was correct. It proves that the discomfort you felt was real and warranted. It confirms that your decision to prioritize your peace over maintaining that connection was absolutely the right call. Now let me tell you what is happening with your energy right now. Because all of this external drama, all of this investigation and false testimony and potential questioning is creating pressure in your field. You might be feeling it physically, tension in your chest, disrupted sleep, a constant low-level anxiety that you cannot quite shake. That is normal. That is your nervous system responding to a perceived threat. But here is what you need to know. The threat is not real. The danger is not actual. Yes, there is discomfort. Yes, there is stress. But you are not in danger of consequences for actions you did not take. You are experiencing the energetic residue of someone else's fear and desperation. You are feeling the echo of panic that is not yours, and you can clear that. Start by grounding yourself in present reality, not the story being told about the past, not the potential future scenarios your mind might be spinning. Right here, right now. Where are you? Are you safe? Are you okay? Is anything actually wrong in this moment? The answer is no. In this present moment, you are fine, you are whole, you are exactly where you need to be. Do this as many times as needed. Every time the anxiety spikes, every time the what-if starts spiraling, every time you feel that tightness in your chest, come back to now. Come back to the simple, undeniable truth that in this moment you are okay. That practice alone will carry you through this period with more grace than you might think possible. Every time you feel anxiety rising, every time you start worrying about what might happen, ask yourself these questions. Did I do what is being claimed? No. Does the truth support my innocence? Yes. Am I willing to lie to protect someone else? No. Am I willing to compromise my integrity out of fear? No. Do I trust that justice works? Yes. Am I safe right now in this moment? Yes. Run through those questions. Feel the solid ground of your answers. Let that certainty anchor you, because that is what is real. Everything else is just noise. Everything else is just the chaotic thrashing of someone who is drowning and trying to grab onto anything to stay afloat. You are not that drowning person. You are standing on solid ground, and no amount of splashing, no amount of desperate grasping, no amount of false accusations can pull you into water. You are not standing in. This investigation will conclude. The truth will emerge. This person will face whatever consequences are appropriate for personal choices, and you will be completely, totally free. But that freedom is going to feel different than you might expect. You might think relief will be the feeling, and relief will come, but something deeper will be felt too. Power will be felt. Validation will be experienced in a way that goes beyond this specific situation, because you will have proof, concrete proof, that walking in integrity protects you, that choosing truth over convenience serves you, that honoring your boundaries and trusting your instincts keeps you safe. That knowing is going to change everything about how you move forward. You are going to trust yourself more deeply. You are going to second-guess yourself less. You are going to feel more confident saying no to situations that do not feel right, even if you cannot articulate exactly why. You are going to understand in your bones that your intuition is a guidance system you can rely on, and that is going to attract different people into your life, because you will be operating at a different frequency. The kind of energy this person represented will not be tolerated. Excuses will not be made for red flags. Discomfort will not be overridden to maintain connections that deplete you. Your peace will be valued too much. Understanding of what it costs to ignore your knowing will be too clear. This moment is actually a gift. I know that sounds strange when you are in the middle of stress and uncertainty, but this situation is showing you exactly who you are. The strength you have built is being revealed. The wisdom you have gained is being demonstrated. This situation is providing proof that you are not the same person you were when you first knew this individual. The old you might have jumped in. The old you might have tried to help. The old you might have taken on responsibility that was not yours. The old you might have sacrificed peace to ease someone else's consequences. But you are not doing that. You are standing firm. You are maintaining boundaries. You are protecting your energy. That is growth. That is evolution. That is evidence of how far you have come. And this experience is going to become part of your story, part of your testimony about why boundaries matter, why trusting your instincts is crucial, why walking away from toxic connections is sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself. You are going to look back on this time and recognize it as a defining moment, not because of what happened to you, but because of how you handled what happened. That is the perspective shift that changes everything. This is not something being done to you. This is something you are moving through. This is not a story where you are the victim. This is a story where you are the one who stood strong when tested, where you chose integrity over fear, where you trusted truth to defend itself instead of scrambling to defend yourself. When someone makes accusations to law enforcement, those accusations trigger a process. Investigators have protocols, standards of evidence, burden of proof requirements that must be met before anyone can be charged with anything. What this person is doing right now is providing testimony, but testimony alone, especially from someone who is already under investigation, carries very little weight without corroboration. Investigators know this. Prosecutors know this. The legal system is built to prevent exactly this kind of scenario where desperate people point fingers to deflect from their own guilt. So what actually happens? Investigators will assess the credibility of the source. Who is making these claims? What is their motivation? What is their current legal situation? Are these claims being made during their own investigation? That context matters enormously. When someone who is facing serious consequences suddenly starts naming other people, investigators immediately recognize the pattern. This is called deflection, and it happens all the time. Next, investigators will look for any evidence that supports or contradicts the claims. This is where your innocence becomes undeniable. Because there is no evidence, there are no financial transactions linking you to illegal activity. There are no communications discussing criminal plans. There are no witnesses who can place you at locations where illegal activities occurred. There is nothing, because you were not involved. What there is instead is evidence of your normal life, your regular patterns, your legitimate activities, your actual whereabouts during times when this person claims you were somewhere else. And that contradiction between what is claimed and what the evidence shows is what will close this door permanently. In the legal system, accusations must be proven. You do not have to prove your innocence. The state has to prove guilt. And when there is no evidence of guilt, when there are only the words of someone who is clearly trying to shift blame, the case goes nowhere. The investigation into you ends before it really begins. This is why you can breathe. This is why you can trust the process. This is why you do not need to panic or scramble or reach out to anyone. The system, for all its flaws, is designed to protect innocent people from baseless accusations. And that is exactly what these accusations are. baseless. Investigators deal with people trying to manipulate the system every single day, and there is a very recognizable pattern when someone is lying to deflect blame. First, the timing is suspicious. When does this person suddenly remember your supposed involvement? Right when consequences are closing in, right when evidence is being gathered against them, right when their options are running out. That timing alone raises red flags. If you were really involved in criminal activity, why did this person not mention it before? Why is your name only coming up now when it is convenient for this person's defense? Second, the details do not hold up. When investigators start asking specific questions, liars cannot maintain consistency. What exactly was your role? When exactly did you participate? Where exactly did these activities take place? The answers will be vague or contradictory, or will change from one interview to the next, because the answers are being invented, not recalled. Third, the evidence does not match. This is the most important part. Investigators will compare what this person claims against actual evidence, and actual evidence does not lie. Phone records show who was talking to whom. Financial records show who was involved in transactions. Security footage shows who was present at locations. Digital footprints show who was accessing what. And none of that is going to show your involvement, because you were not involved. When investigators see this pattern where accusations do not match evidence, where timing is suspicious, where details are inconsistent, the conclusion is obvious. The person making the accusations is lying, and that lying actually makes their own situation worse, because now investigators know this person is willing to fabricate stories. This person is willing to throw innocent people under the bus. This person lacks credibility entirely. Your silence right now is strategic. Your refusal to engage is powerful. Your decision not to reach out to this person or try to manage the narrative is exactly the right move, because anything you say or do right now could potentially be twisted or misinterpreted. If you reach out to this person, that contact could be presented as evidence of connection. If you try to explain yourself before anyone even asks, that could be interpreted as consciousness of guilt. If you start defending yourself to mutual friends, that information could get back to investigators in distorted form. Your best strategy is to be still, to be quiet, to let the investigation unfold naturally. This does not mean you are passive. This does not mean you are powerless. This means you are smart. You understand that the truth does not need your help right now. The truth is working on its own, through evidence, through timelines, through the natural process of investigation. Your job is simply to not interfere with that process. If and when investigators contact you, then you speak. Then you answer questions honestly and clearly. Then you provide information if requested. But you do not volunteer information. You do not speculate about what this person might have meant. You do not try to explain why this person might be lying about you. You simply state facts about your own life and leave it at that. This is what it means to operate from a position of strength. You are not scrambling. You are not desperate. You are not trying to control outcomes. You are simply being truthful and allowing that truth to speak for itself. That is the most powerful position you can possibly occupy right now. Word gets around, people start talking, speculation starts happening, and you might be feeling the weight of that social pressure. You might be wondering what people are thinking, what people are saying, whether your reputation is being damaged. Here is what you need to remember. The people who truly know you, the people who have seen your character consistently over time, are not going to believe wild accusations. Your real friends are going to have your back. Your real community is going to wait for facts before forming judgments. Those are the people whose opinions matter. As for everyone else, as for the gossipers and the speculators and the people who love drama, their opinions have never mattered. These are not people who are invested in your well-being. These are people who are entertained by other people's problems, and once the truth comes out, once the investigation clears you, those same people are going to move on to the next piece of gossip without ever acknowledging they were wrong about you. So do not give them power. Do not let their chatter disturb your peace. Do not waste energy trying to defend yourself in the court of public opinion, because that is a court you cannot win in the middle of an active investigation. The only court that matters is the actual legal system, and that court operates on evidence, not gossip. Your real community, the people who actually matter, are going to see you through this. Some of them might reach out to offer support. Accept that support. Let people who love you be there for you. You do not have to carry this alone, but be discerning about who you share details with. Keep your circle tight. Trust your instincts about who is safe to be vulnerable with. And remember, this too shall pass. The investigation will conclude. The truth will emerge. Your name will be cleared, and anyone who doubted you will feel foolish. But you will not need their apologies, because by then you will be so far beyond this situation that their opinions will not even register. This person thought cleverness was at play. This person thought a way out had been found. This person thought by pointing at you enough confusion could be created to escape personal consequences. What actually happened was the greatest gift being given to you. All ambiguity about who this person is has been removed. Beyond any possible doubt, your decision to walk away has been shown as not only right but necessary. The person you sometimes missed, sometimes wondered about, sometimes almost felt guilty for abandoning, never existed. It was always a mask. And now that mask has completely dissolved. You are not that person anymore. You are not the one who sacrifices to save someone who is drowning. You are not the one who takes responsibility for someone else's choices. You are not the one who lets fear or guilt or obligation override knowing. You are the one who stands firm, who trusts divine timing, who knows with unshakable certainty that truth always prevails. And very soon, confirmation is going to arrive. Maybe it is an official statement clearing you. Maybe it is news that the investigation concluded without your involvement. Maybe it is just a deep internal knowing, a settling of your nervous system, a recognition that the storm has passed. When that moment comes, honor it, recognize it, understand it as the divine validation it is. Your life on the other side of this is going to be lighter than it has been in years, clearer, more focused, more aligned, because you will not be carrying this person anymore, not in your thoughts, not in your concerns, not in any corner of your consciousness. Complete removal will have happened, and in that space, in that cleared field, new opportunities are going to emerge, new connections that honor you, new paths that align with your highest good, new chapters that do not include anyone pointing fingers when personal foundations crumble. This is your liberation disguised as an investigation. This is your freedom disguised as an accusation. This is divine intervention disguised as legal drama. And you are going to come through it, not just unscathed but elevated, not just cleared but vindicated, not just innocent but powerful in your knowing of that innocence. You are protected, you are guided, you are exactly where you need to be, and soon, very soon, everyone else is going to know it too. Your truth does not need defending, it simply needs time to reveal itself, and that time is coming, that revelation is near, that vindication is already written. All you need to do is stay grounded, stay quiet, stay true, and let divine justice do what it does best. Separate wheat from chaff, truth from lies, innocent from guilty, you from this person, forever. You have got this. You have always had this. And now the whole world is about to see what you have known all along. You walk in integrity. You stand in truth. And no false testimony, no desperate accusation, no drowning person's grasping reach can change that fundamental reality. This is your moment. This is your test. This is your triumph. Stand